What's up, y'all? Welcome to the second episode of the Roughneck Fishing Show with your boy Rob Crane. Tonight, I have a very special guest. This is a gentleman who I have looked up to in the fishing industry for quite some time. He is a man of many words. He is a great speaker. Everything he writes, he really is a great communicator when it comes to trying to get a point across. He also is the president and founder of WIRED2FISH.com. Now, a lot of you guys are like me. WIRED2FISH is something that I've been watching for years and years. I think it's been around for 15 plus 16 years, something like that now. And Terry, Mr. Terry Brown, they started from scratch and built it what it is today. And I know me personally, when it comes to the wintertime and I'm getting the wintertime blues and all that, WIRED2FISH is my go-to. So I'm going to bring Mr. Terry in here in a second. Let me get on my Facebook page and share that link. All right. See your comments. Okay. Mr. Terry, how are you, sir?
Perfect. Absolutely great, Rob. Good to talk to you.
I appreciate you coming on, brother. This is definitely, as soon as I said I wanted to start a podcast, you were one of the very first people that popped in my brain and said, I definitely want to have Terry on because I know we'll have a good conversation about a lot of things in fishing, let alone the state of Illinois. So, Terry, those who may not know you, when did you get into fishing? I know you've been pretty much done it all when it comes to this industry. And if you want to just kind of give a little quick recap on how you got into it and all that.
Well, straight up, Rob, it's kind of one of those lucky things that happen in life. I was an athlete my whole life. I played baseball and basketball and played college a little bit and after that. But I was doing basketball for a local radio station, doing color for basketball for WJBC here in Bloomington. And one day I said, we need an outdoor show in the worst way. They said, well, who are we going to get to do it? I said, I'll do it. So
Right.
I did Outdoors in McLean County first, then Outdoors in America because we syndicated it, so it got bigger. And then I started doing that pretty much all the time and writing whenever I could. I love to write, so I started writing a little bit. Going to get to do it. Well, then I fished since I was 4 or 5 years old. Dad took me to farm ponds and stuff like that, and really never tournament fished till '81. And then I got the bug and fished way too much, probably for my wife, but I fished a lot. And but anyway, back to getting this thing going. There was a lady at Bass named Ann Lewis, who she and Bob Cobb and Matt Vincent really gave me a shot. And they said, hey, just do the things the way you do them. You don't have to be anybody else, just be yourself. And, sometimes that can be bad with me, but it had to work out pretty well there. And Matt Vincent gave me my first chance to write. Ann Lewis invited me to the Classic. I went to every Classic just about except the first 3 or 4. And that's really how I got in the media side. It's kind of funny because, you're a tournament fisherman. I am too. But I looked at it and I said, I don't want to be the expert. I want to talk to the experts. So that's how I got in the media side of things. And, I've been blessed with having good people around me. And I mean, whether it's Jason Seelock or Walker Smith or Todd or any of the guys here at WIRED2FISH, I've been blessed to have great people around.
Oh, yeah.
So, my dad always told me you don't have to be the best at anything. You just have to have people that are the best with you. And that's kind of the way I've done it. But I've been very fortunate. I got at Bass times when Matt Vincent asked me to write some stuff. The first column I wrote, and I got the cover for it, was I wrote a column on fishing the Illinois River.
Right.
Nobody had fished it. They had superstars come there. So I wrote this thing about, spring, summer, fall and winter. In winter, I said, what you do in the winter is use the lazy boy pattern, which is you sit with your feet up because there's nothing to do here in the wintertime. All of us that live in Illinois and in the cold country, we understand that.
Right.
An ice fisherman, but that's kind of my background, and I was fortunate. It just kind of dropped in everywhere, and it was one of those situations where it's funny. I'm not very talented at anything, but I'm multi-talented at a whole bunch of things, thousands of useless facts. And so I just embrace that, and I love it. And I'm involved with the Hall of Fame now a little bit, doing some stuff with them, and
Yep.
it's a good situation for me.
Yeah, I always try to, kind of stay in my lane and focus on the things I know I'm strong at, because like you, people have different talents, and if you can surround yourself with people who accent your talents, who might be an expert in this or that or this, it's going to make you better as a person. So, and Wired to Fish, like I remember, it's been probably 10, 15 years. I don't think it was around very long whenever I first started watching it. Can't even remember how I originally found it. It's kind of like the early days of YouTube and stuff. And yeah, it's just a treasure trove of information, and you guys are constantly uploading more content. And any of you guys, I have a Rottweiler messing around my tripod. Fisher, hey, go. Crazy dog. But, if you guys have not checked out Wired to Fish, you can get on there and find stuff that, there's just so much information and so much knowledge on that website. It's a great resource, that's for sure.
Well, Rob, it's funny. I was involved in a thing called Pro Bass Angler with Scott Laney out in the Northwest. He called me one day and said, will you help me? I said, sure. So I started helping him a little bit. And then this thing called Bass Fan came along.
Mm-hmm.
And Scott Laney and Jay Kumar and I kind of ran herd over that for a lot of years. We had a chance to sell it. And then the birth of Wired to Fish came after that. And Wired to Fish, the name Wired was a magazine I read. It's a technology magazine. Two owners we have here are Scott and Marty Glorvigan. They're brothers.
Yeah.
They're twins. So that's two. And we didn't want to be just bass fish. We wanted to be able to cover the length and breadth of fishing. So that's why we're Wired to Fish.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. The premise of it, is it was a great idea, and you've made something out of it that, whenever you look around the industry, there's nothing that really can compare to it with just the pure, amount of information you can get from that website.
Well, we don't want to.
And it was cool because when you started it, it wasn't that easy to find information. Like I'm 36, so whenever I first started bass fishing and stuff in the late 90s and the early 2000s, like if I wanted to learn something new, I'd have to seek that information out. It wasn't just readily available. All these kids now, they just pull up YouTube or go to Wired to Fish or wherever, and they can just find whatever technique they want to learn or whatever.
Think about being 65.
Yeah.
Back in the day, Tommy Martin in 1974 won the Classic, and he can tell you everything that happened all those years around the time he was fishing bass. And we had to learn on the fly. All of us did. My first depth finder was a jug with a 10-foot piece of rope, 20-foot piece of rope, and you let them float to where they got to a place where they stopped, and you knew that was 10 feet or 20 feet or whatever. And that's how you learned how to fish. You learned by the seat of your pants. Mm-hmm. And now these kids have such an advantage because they're not afraid of this technology. They're not afraid of it at all. And you got to go out there and compete against these young kids. You better be on your A game.
Yeah, it's a complete game changer, and that's one of the most overused terms in bass fishing. But the technology in the past 15, 20 years, it absolutely has changed the game tenfold. Like me going into my first season as a boater fishing Major League Fishing, next year, like I got to have a live scope. I'm sitting here scrambling trying to get this little old boat I have ready, and live scope is going to be something I'm have to have, because I'll be damned if I get beat by it and, get my teeth kicked in because I don't have it, So not only do I have to get one, spend the money to get it, but then I need to teach myself how to use it,
Think about this. It's simple. We had rods that weren't graphite. We had fiberglass rods. Then it got graphite. We're like, holy heck, you can feel everything. Then you went from lead, and I called it string back then because that's basically what it was. But now you got fluorocarbon line.
Yep.
All the advantages, the good old days are now, in my opinion. And I think that sometimes we minimize those things, that just how important they are. But to be able to feel a fish with braid or with fluorocarbon is 10 times easier than it was with a 5-foot rod and a reel. It was a 5:1 to 1 gear ratio.
Yeah, like it's funny. Like sometimes, whenever I go to a flea market or a fishing show, and you see some of those old rod and reels from the '80s, like the heyday, the very first low-profile bait casters. Like me, I learned on Round Abu Garcia Ambassadors. That's what I used till probably 2004. But you see those little bitty 5-foot rods that guys were using back then. It's like my kid's Zebco is bigger than those rods were. You know what I mean? Like
If you set the hook with a 5-foot rod, you got to run. I mean, it isn't just setting the hook. You got to run backwards because you don't get enough tension on the line.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's amazing to me just how fortunate everybody is today. You got the Coogan Squad, you got all these different young people that are trying it a different way, and I applaud them all. I think it's great.
Yeah, yeah, and like I said, not to mention all the technology. I mean, I was in that cusp of at the end, of the heyday where guys had to triangulate their positions, and we had to get a map and figure out how to get to the lake. And then when we got to the lake, we'd have to look at maps of the lake on the water, having the books and stuff, and writing my waypoints down in the books. I still have books from Missouri and Illinois over there that have waypoints all over the place that I had for 20 years,
Gary Klein used to have a book, and he called it lines, cast lines.
Yeah.
And it was triangulation. It was using paper maps. He'd have the map there, and this is where I'm going to fish. And
yeah,
it was amazing to me. Now you got it on a computer, basically.
Yeah. I mean, the fish finders, like I literally just picked up a used fish finder today. I bought off a guy a little Helix 7, and literally up front, I'm going to use it for my down imaging, for my iPilot trolling motor, and for mapping, like just so I can see the contours. That's basically what I bought it for.
Mm-hmm. It's changing, but it's changing for the better. And I think that we can't lose sight of the fact the real reason we fish is for the passion and the love of fishing. It's not so much. I mean, it's funny because I relate to Elite Series anglers and MLF pros and everybody else the same way. You win a tournament, 2 weeks later somebody else wins, so you got 2 weeks worth of glory.
Yep.
Right. Yep. You always want to win the last one because then you got 3 or 4 months where you can bask in your glory. But it honestly is a very fleeting sport, and the being the hero, you can go to a zero just as quick. And I think that I think it's important that as anglers, we don't lose sight of the camaraderie and the friendships and the people you get to meet.
That is like the coolest thing that I've always told everybody about FLW Major League Fishing, about me starting as a tournament fisherman in that series, the BFLs and the Toyotas. It's the people that I've met. Like that is what the friendships I've made, the times I've had, win or lose, it's nice to make money. It's nice to, have a little glory. But when it comes to bass fishing, literally you put yourself through countless failures just to be successful once. You know what I mean? Like if you win a tournament, cool. But, I've been fortunate as a co-angler to have success. Some of it might have been luck. Some of it might have been me. Some of it just, a broken watch is right twice a day kind of deal. But it's just all the folks that I've, friendships I've made, connections I've made, friendships that'll last a lifetime.
Well, the challenge is, I know you're in it just like I am. You have a passion for it. Mm-hmm. The challenge is, give me the last 4 guys that won an MLF Tour event. Give me the last 4 guys that want to be, Bass Pro Tour event. Mm-hmm. You got a pretty good guess if you guess Jacob Wheeler because he wins just all of them. Yeah. But it's hard. It's hard because it's so fleeting. And I think what happens is that the friendships, the camaraderie, the little bit of money you make, that's important. And, in my space where I'm at today, I've been blessed with the fact that I know all the guys that started this game.
Yeah.
The history of the sport's very important to me.
Yep.
And I think our younger guys, we need to teach a little bit about the history of the sport and who cut
Absolutely. For sure. Because most of them don't know, and from where the humble beginnings that started with, Forest and Ranger and, building the Ranger boat and all that, I was kind of a history buff with all that stuff when I was a kid to learn about it, I mean, shoot, I'm kind of basically self-taught. Like my family really didn't fish. When I was about 8, 9 years old, I tagged along with a buddy of mine and his dad. And and we went crappie fishing, and I accidentally caught a largemouth. It might have been the second or third time I'd ever been fishing in my life. And as soon as I caught that bass, it might have been a 3 pound bass. I was just hooked. I was ruined from that day forward. I went home and begged my parents to subscribe me to Bassmaster magazine and Fisherman and Bassin and all those different magazines. So then I would get them at the house every month, and I would read every one, and I'd watch Bill Dance and Hank Parker and all them guys on TNN Outdoors, every Saturday morning. And that's basically how I learned as a kid.
You got two boys that are ate up with it too. I can tell by
Oh yeah, no, my 6-year-old literally gets mad if I go fishing without him. He'll call me, Dad, what are you doing? Days he ain't with me, he's with his mom. He'll be like, what are you doing, Dad? Like, I'm fishing. Where are you fishing at? Oh, I'm out here with so and so. Well, can you come get me?
right.
It's like, yeah, I'll come get you, man.
It's contagious. It's
Oh, yeah.
contagious. And whether it's your family or a buddy or kids, we started high school fishing in Illinois.
Right.
And, I got called a lot of names when we started it. And to be honest with you, athletic directors didn't like me very well and some of that because they thought I was going to create work for them. What we did, we created a niche for kids that we didn't have in high school.
Yeah. And I graduated high school in 2004. So I was right before the Illinois bass fishing started in the high schools. And I won't lie to you, whenever I was 19 or 20 years old and that started, I was heartbroken that it wasn't there whenever I was in high school.
You know how many times I've heard that? Hundreds.
I was I was excited that it started, but I was like, man, if that was in high school, I would have been the captain of my team, because I didn't even know many people in my area that bass fish, but like I've tried to make my mark, when it comes to teaching people how to fish and passing it to the youth. I mean, 8-9 years ago, my local town where I'm from, Caseyville, they always had a little fishing derby whenever I was coming up, and I would go to it and stuff. But when I became an adult, and even before I had children myself, my nephews and nieces, I took them down to the fishing derby that they had every year. And I was like, just starting to get into fishing bigger tournaments and all that. And I fished a local club around here for a couple of years. And I was like, I want to help, So I went to the lady who was running it at the time. She was with Parks and Recreation and said, hey, I want to help. I think I can help you make this bigger and better, have more kids, better turnout, fundraise, try to give away a bunch of stuff. And it's been 8 years of me doing it. Now I run it with the local police department. And I mean, shoot, this year we had 98 kids and we gave away like $1,700 worth of fishing gear to the kids, just all rod reels and, tackle boxes and all that, and we just gave it all away. That's what we do every year.
My dad told me one time you can't save them all. And I told him all I want to do is be able to save one.
Yes.
And if you do that and it's one at a time, it's amazing what that can do. And these kids are ate up with it. High school kids in particular, when they started out, they weren't very good, but I'll put a lot of these high school kids against anybody. And you can see it at the college rinks because they go from high school to college. Trey McKinney and some of those kids just climbed the ladder and are kicking butt and taking names.
Oh yeah.
They started out in a high school program and you're taking kids that didn't have any affinity with their school and putting them.
I don't know if you two have ever crossed paths, and you probably have over the years, but my mentor, whenever I was that age, my parents owned a bar and grill out in New Athens, Illinois, which was on the Kaskaskia River. And so my mom worked in New Athens before we bought the bar and grill, but she worked at the marina there called Smitty's, and they used to have a big bass tournament every Thursday night. So I went down there as a 13-year-old, with a tackle box on my back and 2 rods in my hand. And I got to jump in a boat with the guy who ran the Thursday night tournaments. His name's George Fudge. And George is an absolute awesome guy. And he was the very first bass boat I ever got to get in, very first tournament I ever fished. It was all with George. And every Thursday for 2-3 years there, I was always in George's boat. And we'd go out there, and go fishing every Thursday. And then every year they would have a classic and all that kind of deal, and awesome time. But shoot, George now he's the Redbud, Illinois high school bass fishing coach, and they've got a really good little program there. They've I try to help out much as I can, and hopefully in the future I can try to get maybe a program around here. My high school I went to, Collinsville, still doesn't have a bass fishing team, but I'm pretty sure if I had the availability, my life's too hectic right now to take any kind of big chunk of my time like that. I just can't, but I'd like to be a coach.
You talked about Redbud. My best friend of my life lives in Redbud.
Yeah.
He's got a farm down there, and his wife's got a coffee shop, and but no one knows where it's at. But it's pretty small. But it's
it's a small town. It's not far from me. I'm here in Fairview Heights, which is like 15 minutes from downtown St. Louis, and Redbud's probably 20-minute drive from me, something like that.
Yep.
We got a bunch of them little towns around here.
It's a good place to be from. I grew up in a town of about 300 called Hudson, Illinois.
Yeah, I'm in the straight middle of urban area, and then in one direction, and then the other direction are the cornfields. So I'm right there, smack dab in between the country and the city.
Yeah, gotcha.
Well, one direction I can go out to the country, go fish, and the other direction I'll be in one of the most dangerous cities in America.
Yeah.
It makes you have thick skin. We'll say that.
Yeah, well, if you live in Illinois, you got thick skin anyway.
Yeah, that ain't no crap. Do you want to dive into that one? Or do we want to already go there?
I don't have any problem with it at all. I think that what you're talking about is we got a new administrative rule. It's called 110-4. It comes out of another administrative rule. And really, it's basically, here's what it is. It's a $25 permit fee plus 10% of gross of anything you bring in. So entry fees, 50-50 drawings, sponsor money, all that, they get 10% of that. And they dropped it on us. This is the bad part. Fisheries really didn't know much about it. They got their information on Friday. On Monday, we got this permit that's got this new information on it. And I'm a pain in the butt enough that I'm going to keep fighting until I win. And right now, it's a situation where 2/3 of the legislators that I've talked to didn't know anything about it. Well, now they do.
Right.
And, it's a situation where there's a lot better ways of doing this. As an example, you've been to Clinton Lake, I'm sure, maybe a couple of times.
Yeah.
Clinton Lake, you got Muscootin Ramp, you got the Marina, you got the West Access, you got all those. If you go there as a non-tournament angler, you don't pay any fees. But if you go there as a tournament angler, you got to pay all these fees.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they're using the same parking lots, the same toilets, the same garbage cans, the same everything. There's no fees for them, but there is for the tournament angler. And Colleen Carnahan, who the administrator of the Illinois Department of Natural Resources, said, we're not targeting tournament anglers. There's nobody else they could be targeting. It has to be tournament anglers. And why in the world all these other states look at tournament anglers as a benefit,
right,
and we look at them as a liability? I have no idea, but I'm going to keep on it till I can't keep on it anymore, until somebody tries to shoot at me. But it's a situation where this is just plain and simple wrong.
Yeah, and I would say that they're double dipping, but it's more like gazillion dipping, because they get us in every single which way. Like, it just seems like the lawmakers up there in Cook County just literally just sit around and just think of things, new things to tax. Like, you tax every single thing that you do, from the sales tax on the products that we purchase, to the boat registrations, to the fishing licenses, to parking. Then we pay $5 for a parking permit at a lot of these ramps. There's just so much that they tax us on. It's ridiculous. And not to mention, if you win, what is it, over $500? Yeah, $600, you're going to pay taxes on it anyway.
Here's a situation. Now, the monies that they're trying to come for have already been taxed. When you take your hard-earned money and you put it towards an entry fee, that money's already been taxed. Well, now they're going to try to tax it again. It wasn't that long ago when used cars, they only taxed the new car you bought, not the used car. Well, now they do both of those. And pretty soon there's enough pushback. The angling community, I've said for a long, long time, are not organized worth a darn. And if nothing comes out of this other than the fact we might get organized where we can fight our own fights, that would be a good thing. Don't be surprised. I'm telling you right now, if this wins and they continue to do what they're saying they're going to do, hunting will be next. bird watching, tiddlywink championships, everything will be thrown in the same hopper. So if you're not a tournament angler, don't say, well, I don't tournament fish, it doesn't matter to me. It's going to matter to you. It's going to matter to you. If you deer hunt, they used to have a tag process, a long time ago, to where you had to bring it to a check-in station.
Right.
Don't be surprised that deer doesn't have to come to a check-in station, and based on the size of the deer, you're going to pay a fee.
Right.
So it's not just tournament fishing here. This is about precedent, and this is about rule setting, and this is about going to war with these people that are living in a microcosm. Mm-hmm. The people who run the administration, legislators, they're not fishermen.
No.
My best Christmas gift you could give me is to find some legislator that actually was a fisherman or a hunter.
Right.
And he didn't just do it for a photo op. When it gets around to election day, he's trying to get the hunter, so he's got a picture of him with a gun, over a pheasant or something. It doesn't make sense to me. I want somebody that lives it. Yep. So if I can get that person that lives it, then guess what? We may have a chance. Right now, we got a bunch of people that don't know, apple butter from hoo-ha, and they're the ones that are making the rules.
Bunch of city slickers.
Yeah, and the problem is they get told, and bless her heart, Colleen's a wonderful person. I've known Colleen a while, and she's a nice person. But I'll guarantee you what happened here was she got told, you either find revenue or we're going to break this DNR up. They'll take the biologists and put them in the EPA. They'll take the cops and put them with the state police. With the CPOs, they'll put them with the state police. What's going to happen here is going to impact us all. Yeah. So she got told, hey, you either find revenue. Well, they had this bill this administrative rule is 10 years old, never been enforced.
Right.
Never. And now all of a sudden this year they choose to enforce it. And it's because they're looking for money. There's a real easy way to fix this. Is what my dad told me when I was a kid. You never spend more than you have, hoping that you're going to be able to come up with the money.
Right.
You've got to quit spending. This tax and spend thing that we're doing right now is completely ludicrous.
No.
In the state of Illinois, that has been our MO, and that's why we have the issues with the pension programs and everything else. Hoping we're going to find a can of money in the yard. We're not going to do that. We're not going to do that. And we haven't done that for 25 years. So why would it start today? So quit doing, if the DNR budget is $10, that means you got $10. You don't have 20, hoping that you can find the other 10, you got $10. Do with it as you need to with the $10. Don't try taxing me and you and everybody else. It's wrong. It's just wrong.
Yeah. I mean, and that's kind of a microcosm of the country as a whole, where we have certain lawmakers of a certain variety that kind of have that mantra that they're just going to mismanage the funds and tax everybody to death. And then still, you can't just spend the money like it's growing on a tree.
Well, here's where we're at. Here's where we're at. It's very simple. We are in a position in our country right now where what was right is not right. What was wrong is up in the air for being right. And what I always say, the good people who follow the rules always have to carry the heaviest bucket. And what we do is we follow the rules. Tournament people who fish tournaments, they got rules to follow. And if you break the rule, you get disqualified, right? That's where it comes into the fishing stuff. Not the way it works in life, nor the way it works in legislation.
Right.
You get a guy that's the most honest guy in the world, and you put him in a position of power. He's either going to have to make friends, make compromises, or something to get something passed.
Yeah. And
that is a bad situation, and our country's hurting because of that.
Yep.
And I'm the biggest flag waver you'll ever see. I'll just tell you point blank.
Right.
I believe in standing up for the national anthem, holding my hand on my heart. I believe in the Pledge of Allegiance. I believe in all that. And there's a whole bunch of old buzzards like me that think exactly the same way.
Yep.
And what we've got to do is we got to get back to that. And we're a long way from it right now. When you look at positions in the state of Illinois, we have more appointed positions from the governor's office than just about every other state. Whether it's the DNR director, which is an appointed position, or many of the others are all appointed positions.
Right.
They may not know anything. Colleen came from agriculture. What's she know about anything that has to do with the, conservation and taking care of lakes and managing it? Nothing. So, bless her heart, she's trying, and she's trying to, she was given this deck of cards. She's got to play with those cards.
Right.
We're in a bad position. We're in a really bad position. I don't want this to sound doomsday or anything, because it's not. As long as we've got a few handful of people that are willing to fight, like you and me and everybody else, we're going to continue to try. And I think that's, the biggest message I can give on this thing is if it doesn't impact you today, it will tomorrow.
Yeah.
You know, it's going to tomorrow. So be prepared and know that by getting involved with the tournament anglers and the pushback we're trying to do with our legislators and that kind of stuff, get involved.
Yeah.
Because it's not, if today you don't have a fee for recreational angling or recreational boating, you might tomorrow.
Yep.
Because they're looking for money.
Yep.
It's just
and they get it however they can get it, because we are, I think, the second highest tax state in the country.
Right. Property
tax. But yet they have no money.
Here's the other thing to think about. You know, Rob, you've got a state right next to where you live in Missouri. Mm-hmm. They're doing all kinds of stuff where they look for input from anglers. They look for input from hunters. They look for input from campers. They look for input. We didn't get a chance to have any input. We didn't have a seat at the table. We've got to figure out a way to get a seat at the table. And that means being diplomatic. That means being able to tell your story well. But I got all these states around me. You got Kentucky and you've got Missouri and you've got Tennessee. They're always asking for input from the outdoors people. You know why?
Because we're the ones who conserve it, you know.
Yeah, we're also a vote, and don't forget that.
Yep.
Because, you know, if I find that one guy that I know that's an outdoorsman, he'll get my vote every year.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
You know, I look at a guy, it's funny, I do a lot of research on my own, looking at all these people who sit in these positions. And if it's such a crappy job, why do they clamor to get in it?
Yeah.
You know, if it's such a bad job being a legislator, why do they fight to get in it? It's all about this, all about the greenbacks. So let's find out which ones are that way and find out which ones aren't, and let's vote for the ones that we should be voting for. Maybe we'll win something. It's just a bad situation.
Yeah, I mean, you know, for years people have been talking about splitting Illinois in two. God, I mean, that would be a beautiful thing. Is it ever going to happen?
No.
In Chicago and all the folks up there.
You know, there's a lot of anglers up there, though.
Yep.
There's a ton of people. That the Cal-Sac area gets a ton of anglers, a ton of tournament fishermen. I've got some really good friends that live in Chicago area.
Right.
They think like we think, but we've got to figure out a way to get that group of guys along with this group of guys, along with this group of guys, and not guys. I don't mean male or female.
Yeah, to get some people in office.
Yeah.
Is what we need.
Yep.
For sure. Absolutely.
Well, I don't want to beleaguer the point, but we're in a battle right now. And it's going to turn out pretty bad for the state of Illinois. You know what? Here's something that a lot of people haven't thought about. Lake Springfield is right down there in the middle part of the state. That's city owned. Every bit of it's city owned. Okay. And you've got leases on the property and that kind of stuff. Lindsay Street access is city owned. So these rules don't pertain necessarily to the 10% on Lake Springfield. If you have to get the 10% every other lake you go to, where are you going to go? You're going to go to Lake Springfield. Guess what's going to happen to Lake Springfield? It's going to get the tar kicked out of it. You know, the fishery is going to be hurt by it because everybody that knows they have to pay this 10% are going to go to Lake Springfield. Great example. You know, Sancres, a lot of the state lakes. Yeah, and it's going to be a detrimental impact to lakes that aren't state-owned, managed, or maintained.
Yeah.
That's what you're going to have happen.
Yeah, and then of course it's only going to be the large events are the ones that are going to get popped by this, you know. And then of course they're going to have to spend money to enforce it. What are you going to have DNR agents going around saying, "Hey"?
It'll be enforced by the Department of Revenue. That's the bad part. So it'll be the revenuers that'll be coming for your 10%. It's not going to be the DNR. You know, I've got some of my best friends. I've been a supporter of DNR here in Illinois for a long, long time. And I've got biologist friends. I've got people in administration that are my friends. I've got CPOs that are my friends. I love those people. And they're doing the best job they can under the circumstances. But some of these park superintendents and stuff, they're not going to administer this. It's just a bureaucratic way of saying we're going to get into your pocket. That's all it is. It's very simple.
I'm pretty used to that at this point in this state.
Yeah.
It's just, I mean, I go travel, you know, around the Midwest fishing these tournaments, and I go and just just everything about it is so different than it is here. You know what I mean? From the people being nice, you know, everybody's just polite. They're not, you know, prices of living are way cheaper. Gasoline's cheaper. The resources are just beautiful, you know. And then you come back to Illinois and Like, oh,
I got one. I got one. You remember the $118 license plate fee?
Yep.
Okay. Supposedly there was a compromise made. It was bipartisan compromise to go to 32. In my opinion, that's not a compromise because we went from 18 to 32. That's still $14 difference.
Yeah.
But I'm willing to say, okay, guess what? The governor hasn't signed that bill. So when you get your card that says you got to go buy your license plates, it still says $118 on it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if he signs the bill before January 1st, then it'll be $32. It's not today. And that's the things, those are the shady goings on that we have to deal with every day. And common sense has left the building. It's
Right.
left the building. And, we're not talking about hotels and restaurants and gas stations and, all that stuff. I was thinking today, we got all these electric cars. Rivian's right over here by me.
Mm-hmm.
What's a guy that owns a gas station think about Rivian?
Right.
Think about electric cars. What's he think about it? I was thinking, I was driving today and they're talking about having all these charging stations everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
What's a guy that owns a gas station think about that?
I just seen the very first one in my area. It's in Collinsville, Illinois. I actually seen it yesterday. I was driving home and I looked over and as of 2 weeks ago, it was not there. And there was about 15 of those Chargers and a couple Tesla cars parked in front of them. And it was right there at a Casey's gas station. It's like, where the hell did that come from? You know, like
you buy a candy bar. You can still get a candy bar, a bag of M&Ms or something. What the big picture is here, and unless we decide to take our country back, your audience is probably a lot further than just Illinois, but I can tell you that if we don't decide to take our country back, we're going to get what the little boy shot at, which is nothing. And that's what we're going to get. So we've got to stand up and fight. As anglers, we got to stand up and fight. As hunters, we got to stand up and fight. And as citizens, we got to stand up and fight.
So when it comes to this deal here that we're up against, we're going to try to get a petition going. Is that even going to do anything? Or, I mean, what would be kind of
I think the best way to do it is do it through channels. And I've always believed that you can't circumvent it or get loud and obnoxious or anything like that.
Right.
And all that
That's counterproductive.
No, and by yelling the loudest doesn't mean you win the argument. So you have to go through their channels, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I think that we've got enough people engaged now that didn't even know it existed. 10-year-old legislation that now all of a sudden is going to be put in practice. There's something smelly about this. I mean, there's a skunk in the woodpile, no question. And so what caused this? Well, lands say it's because our parks and stuff are getting older and we have to maintain them. Well, then let's let everybody maintain them, not just a tournament angler. So I'm trying to do my part by talking to representatives, talking to legislators, talking to people like that and saying, we need your help here. This has got to be bipartisan. This can't be Republican. It can't be just Democrat. It's got to be bipartisan, and they've got to be able to go to that. But the only way I know how to do it is do it the right way.
Yep. I agree. Absolutely.
I've got a real job, which may be hard for some people to believe, but I work at WIRED2FISH. That's what I do. I'm integral in. I mean, I'm working with it every day, working with our people that work here, and we've got the greatest staff in the world. But this has taken an insurmountable time in my evenings and my weekends and trying to get in touch with the right person that can go to bat for us.
Right.
I made a comment to one of the representatives that's happened to be running for another office now. And I said, you want my support? You got it. I need your support. And I've said that to every one of them, whether it's Jim Durkin or whoever. I'm talking to these people saying, look, you want my support? I'll give it to you.
Right.
You got to help us. You got to help us with this particular thing. So we'll see how it turns out, I guess. It's a lot different. People who watch your program and watch what you're doing here, they want to learn how to throw a jig and lakes are good and all that kind of stuff. They didn't really want to get into politics, I'm sure, but this is a big issue in the state of Illinois, no question.
It is. I mean, when you're talking about taxing tournament anglers more than we already are, I mean, as soon as I seen that story come up, I seen it somewhere, and then the day after I seen it, you posted about it, and my ears started just fuming. Like, I visibly pissed me off. Like, I was mad when I read it.
Well, there's something that people don't know. You mentioned it kind of in hindsight. What you buy an outboard engine, there's an excise tax associated. That's Fed money. You got a fishing rod, there's excise tax for that. For baits and tackle, all that goes into a fund in the federal government. There's a bill called the Wallet-Burrow Act, which is an act that those funds are distributed by fishing licenses. So if Illinois has got 500,000 fishing licenses, based on how much money they have, they allow that to go to the DNR, can only be used in the DNR. Those excise tax funds can only be used for the DNR, right?
Mhm.
So I'll guarantee you they haven't been in Illinois, but that's what they're supposed to go to, is to help the states manage and maintain lakes, streams, rivers, parks, all that kind of stuff. And we're paying for it on both ends. We're paying for it through the excise tax, and now they're going to try to have us pay for it on this side. Not a good deal.
No,
We beat this to death, but you know what I'm getting at.
Well, I mean, I get it. Trust me. I grew up, seeing all this in this state, and I kind of had one of those eye-opening moments, 6, 7 years ago, whenever I just kind of seen how this state's been mismanaged and mishandled, and what they've done to our taxes and how much they tax us. And then I started looking kind of around the country, and I seen the states that were spending the money like it's going out of style. Their government is huge, all these appointees and all that. Government's entirely too big. I'm just saying. And there's a common denominator with New York and Illinois and California and all that. We all know what it is. And if you don't know what the common denominator is on the states that are mismanaged, do a little research.
You're close to Missouri. I'm going to use them as an example. We have the lottery in Illinois. You have the lottery in Missouri. Right. The lottery in Missouri goes towards college educations for kids. You got to be average. You got to go to college, right?
Right.
In Illinois, I'm not sure what it goes to because it's not owned by the state anymore. They sold it, and it's now privately owned. The lottery in Illinois is privately owned. So they give a portion of it to the state, portion of it to schools, which is that much. And then the rest of it, I don't know what they do with. I want to have an accountability. My personal opinion is I don't care where you spend it, but I should be able to see where you spend it. Safe Roads Act, another one. We're going to, $2 on every license plate going to the Safe Roads Act. Not the first dollar's been spent on any of the potholes in my area.
Yeah.
So, okay, how about just some accountability and some transparency from our leadership, okay, that says, this is where I spent the money you sent. We don't get that. We don't have any idea where it goes.
Absolutely not. Hey, that would be overstepping, to know where our tax hours go.
Right, exactly. Well, like I said, we beat this to death, but it is a very serious issue for me. And I know if you're a tournament angler in the state of Illinois, it's a very serious. Give you an example. This is a very simple deal. If you have an entry fee that's $250 to a tournament, 25 of that entry fee now goes to tax of every entry fee. So $250 entry fee, 10%, $25. That's right off the top before you make a cast.
Right.
It's big money. Here's the other thing. They can make a lot more money if they charge $2 more per license. But nobody thought of that. Nobody thought of that.
That's just, I was actually going to say that earlier. Why don't they just increase, the licensing?
Nobody would have complained. We haven't had a license change in 10 years.
Yeah, I'll say we expect that. That's probably what's going to be next.
Well, they'll do that on top of this. That's what I mean. They're probably going to do that as well. Yeah, you never know. And I don't want to speculate. Like I say, you try to do it right, so you don't want to speculate what dirty pool they're going to play next. You got to fight the one that's in front of you.
Yep. So I got a fishing show. I'm going to work down here in Collinsville, Illinois next month.
Good one.
Yeah, that's the Let's Go Fishing show. I'm going to work that one with Bluff City Outdoors, a local tackle store down here. And I'm going to be stocking the Thunderhawk lures in there after they're done building this addition in the next month or so. So I'm going to go down there and have a giant box of Thunderhawk lures to show people and sell and all that. So it should be a good time with that. I always like going to that show because, number one, it's, right by my house. And I've literally gone to that show every year since I was like 10.
No, the St. Louis boat show has been canceled, correct?
I think so.
Yeah, I think I saw it was canceled. Collinsville, the Let's Go Fishing show is a wonderful show. And if you have any aspirations to learn more about fishing, that's a great show to go to.
Yeah, I mean, they got seminars. They have antique dealers, fishing antiques, and baits and all that. They got, tons of boats you can look at and purchase, then of course, all the fishing stuff, booths. And then, I mean, they usually have some pretty big names in there doing seminars. I know one year we had Jason Christie, and another year,
Brandon
Polinick was there. Yeah, I mean, over the years, there's been tons of guys, down there. And then they also usually have a big swimming pool there full of either bluegill or trout for the little kids to catch, food and all that. So, I mean, pure value wise, it's one of the biggest shows I've been to,
It's a
but
good
yeah, I mean, I haven't been to that many of them. Hopefully this year with Thunderhawk, I'll get to actually go to like I think we're going to go to the Major League Fishing show. I'm trying to think of what its name is.
one. Red Crest?
Yeah, the Red Crest show. Yeah. That and ICAST. I've never been to ICAST, so I'm going to try
You
to.
go for me.
Yeah, that's fine.
I've been a lot of years.
I've never been. I want to go.
It's like a big family reunion for the fishing industry. It's a great program. I love going to ICAST. It's just getting the gumption to go.
Yeah. Thunderhawk had a booth there last year, a smaller booth, but hopefully we're going to have a larger one this year.
Good.
And they made me their sales rep for the Midwest, so I'm trying to get as many tackle stores and stuff around here to stock up Thunderhawks as we can, because it's we're growing fast. That's for sure.
I don't want to blow air up your dress, because I don't do that typically, but I can tell you I know a lot of people that work hard at this space, and you're working about as hard as anybody I've ever met. And when I met you the first day, I noticed that. And you just keep doing what you're doing. You're on the right track, and you're going to do just fine in this industry. And
Hey,
I applaud you.
I appreciate you saying that. Like, life gets in the way, from work and being a daddy and all that stuff. I try to juggle a lot of things at once, a lot of the time. And this next year, I've kind of tried to reset my batteries the past couple months and focus on my kind of I'll say progression, going forward, and move to the front of the boat, be one of them on the tournament aspect of it. But
It's a
really,
big step.
yeah, and that and really start trying to step up putting out content. I see other creators out there, who just do YouTube, for a living and all that. Like, that would be great, to do that. There's things called a job usually gets in the way of that one. But
Well, I've heard they'll bite a jig too.
yeah. No, I've caught a couple fish on a jig. One time, and I mean, if I told you I had
behind your head.
Yeah, I mean, if I just had random, tungsten Kitech jigs just laying in front of me, I mean,
Right behind your head, it says they'll bite a jig.
yeah, that says they eat the jig right there. Yep, it says it right there. Yep, and most of these trophies up here are from a jig.
Yep.
We'll go ahead and open this guy just because he's so cute. You gotta love the little hybrid tungsten Kitech jig. You just gotta love that. Just a little bitty guy.
That's a company that's just taken off. It's just going gangbusters, and I have to give you a lot of credit. I mean, you're out there pumping them as hard as you can, and I can tell you their products are sensational.
Kitech's been awesome to me. I mean, I've now been with Kitech since 2016, and I mean, I know I've moved a lot of product over the years. And if anybody wants to save some money on KitechUSA.com, shoot me a message. I got you. But they took care of me product wise. I mean, yeah, at the end of the day, we all want to get that big money sponsor that'll pay all your stuff, but Kitech, I mean, this product
It's high
use.
quality. It's high quality.
Yeah, I mean, they don't make anything cheaply at all. And that's something I could say for Thunderhawk as well. All the baits they've come out with, the lipless crankbait is amazing. Love it. It's got swivels built into the bait so the hooks spin, and I mean, everything they make is just awesome. And the cool thing about Thunderhawk is it's basically a startup, but with like unlimited backing. So like me or Chief Michael Dove, he's the man here in the States for Thunderhawk. If we came up with a bait idea, just wrote it down on a piece of paper and all this, like, we have the resources to design the bait in the CAD software, come up with the prototypes, test the prototypes, and build baits from the ground up, like whatever you can dream up, which is I can't say that's pretty much for anybody, unless you're talking about Strike King or Sixth Sense or Berkeley or these real big major players. So for a new company to have them capabilities is pretty cool.
Yep, sure is.
And yeah, so you're going to bat for us here in Illinois. We know that.
Got a lot of people that are.
Yeah, and WIRED2FISH, I take it's just going to keep on trucking along and stay the course, huh?
Well, it's more than just a job. It's what I live for, is Wired to Fish. And
Yeah.
in my wildest dreams, we had bass fan. I never thought anything could get that big.
Right.
And now we got Wired to Fish, and I never thought it'd get that big. Our bottom line is we just want to help people catch more fish.
You guys do that. Trust me.
Yeah. Well, we try hard at it. Got great people here. Jason Sealock, Walker Smith,
Yep.
all the guys on the video team, Kyle and McKeon and Ryan and all those guys that are up there in Minnesota. They do a bang up job. I'm just a monkey that hangs around and talks about fishing.
Mr. Tackle Junkie 81, how you doing, buddy? We got Tyler Boyette. What's up, brother? We got Justin Schick. He said, "Hey, Terry." Or is it, Schick? I think I said that right.
Yeah, he's a stud. He's a good fisherman, and so is Tyler.
Yeah. Tyler's a good dude. I know Tyler. Mr. Tackle Junkie, if you guys, he's tuning in on YouTube. So if you guys like tackle reviews, you guys like good fishing content, go check out Tackle Junkie 81. Yeah, it's pretty. This streaming software I got's pretty neat because I can see comments from multiple platforms and broadcast to multiple platforms all at the same time. So it's worth the $25 or whatever it is a month, I think.
It's really good. It's really clear too.
Yeah, and that was one thing. I looked at a bunch of different streaming softwares and was really looking at all the reviews and stuff like that. And this one had really, really damn good reviews. But yeah, so I'm just gearing up to go fishing, and I'm pretty excited with Thunderhawk, the opportunity I got there. Now, mind you, I don't mind fixing furnaces and air conditioners for a living, but if I got 100 or 200 accounts, being a sales representative of some fishing lures, I might have to probably put some more effort into that. Hey.
You always say how you can make $1 million as a fishing rep. Start with 2.
Yeah.
Or like farming.
Yeah, no kidding.
When you make $1 million farming, you start with $2 million.
Start with $2 million. Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's for sure. Well, yeah. So I'm got this boat project. I know you know all about boat projects. So this is my first boat project. So I'm going to be leaning on some of my friends to help me out when we start tearing this thing apart, because new carpet, new seats, trolling motor recessed trolling motor tray, trolling motor, fish finders. Going to add another battery for the fish finders up front, and then basically just go over the, make sure everything's ready for next year, the live wells and the motor and all that stuff. So.
Well, rest assured, you're going to be light years ahead of a 340 Ranger. No matter what you do.
Yeah.
I bit off a lot more than I could chew at 65 years old. I'll tell you that.
I was amazed. I watched your progress with that boat. If you guys didn't see this, Terry purchased a 1986 Ranger, little Ranger bass boat, and she was a fixer-upper. Now she wasn't the worst boat I ever seen from 1986. I mean, being manufactured in 85, I was manufactured in 85, and it was probably in better shape than me. But
I think you're giving it way too much credit.
What you did with it was amazing.
I had 4 garbage cans of mouse nests. I had every piece of wire in it was in one glob. I had no pumps that worked. I had no cleats. I had nothing on it. And now it's a pretty stand-up vessel. It's sitting out here. Man. It's part of my museum now. That's what I tell it.
It's awesome. Whatever happened to the military boat?
I just sold that to a friend.
Did you?
And the reason I sold it was that his name's Robert. He lives down in Southern Illinois.
Yeah.
But he also is going to carry on the tradition of letting military soldiers and that kind of stuff sign it.
Oh,
I had
really?
about 200 signatures on it, and he wants to do that. And so I sold it to him, and he's all excited about getting a chance to fish out of it. So made my day.
Heck yeah. Yeah. Chief, my buddy Chief, Michael Dove, with Thunderhawk, he does a lot of stuff, outreach and fishing with vets and stuff like that. So you two may have to link up in the future, because I know he's got
is Mike related to Mark?
Not sure. Not sure. Mike is a
tall guy, used to be a policeman.
Yeah, that's Mike.
I know Mike. Yep,
Yep.
good guy. Yep.
Yeah, look, my 6-year-old's trying to video chat me real quick. Hold on here. Hold on here. What's up, dude?
What you doing?
I am live on the internet right now talking to my friend Terry and to some people. So let your daddy call you back whenever I'm done with this, all right? All right, love you.
See, that's what it's about right there. You just made what you just made. One time I was doing Wired2Fish radio, and my daughter called in, wanted to know where her car keys was, and her mother and I got a little bit upset with her the night before, so we hit them. It's always on the radio. Every bit of it was on the radio. So
That's funny.
you got good voice.
The first episode I did with Chief, yeah, they were here, and Carter was pretty disinterested on being, because he's been in quite a few videos with me, and he was pretty disinterested. He was playing video games or whatever, but his little brother was about ready for bed, so he was like on me, making my life difficult the entire video, or half of it at least. But yeah, Mike, he's from Indiana.
Yep.
And he was a chief of police over there. I believe he was in the Navy, and I drew him in the Toyota series like 4 years ago, I think it was, or 4, at Lake of the Ozarks, and we.
I just talked to his brother today, Mark.
Oh yeah.
He's an attorney in Indianapolis.
Okay.
And he and I fished the Wrangler Nationals together.
Right.
And I went to Monroe, and he was talking about there was another guy he was trying to get a phone number for. And I said, well, I've got his number. I'll find it. So I found his number, gave it to him. But I said, you got third in that tournament. I got second. And a guy from Michigan won it. But then when I went to the Red River, that was the first time they were ever at the Red River, he smoked me. He made it to the Classic. So Mark's a good angler. Yeah, a real good angler. But that's Mike's brother, I think, or cousin.
Yeah. He's a good dude. He's a big, tall guy. He's got long hair. Like, you meet him, you wouldn't think he was the chief of police at one point. But yeah, he's a good dude. And as soon as we drew each other that day, we went fishing. We had a pretty productive day on Lake of the Ozarks, and became friends ever since.
That's great. Good story. Good story.
That's how most of the my boaters and pros. I mean, I've made quite a few lifelong friends in FLW and Major League Fishing, and like me and you were talking about, that's what it's all about,
We did a show together up with Worldwide. You and I did.
Yeah, that was awesome. I wish we would have had some video from that, because that was a really good show.
We had to keep Worldwide honest.
Oh yeah.
You and I were we were the straight men for an otherwise lackluster affair with him.
Well, I mean, it was definitely, it would have been, we would have had to do it at like an improv show or something.
Yeah.
If me and you weren't there and it was just James, they would have had to have it down there at the Funny Bone, because he cracks me up. That guy right there. And I mean, I always root for James, in these tournaments that I fish, and hope he does well. And well, I tell you what, whenever he doesn't do well, he is about as tough on himself as any angler you'll ever see.
Right.
That jovial, happy guy, if he doesn't have a good tournament, James is rough on himself.
Yeah.
But and I try not to do that. I've learned after so long, basically I try to go in with no expectations. I say that, but of course there's certain tournaments I go to where I'm really excited about it because I think I'm going to do well. But I try not to beat myself up on them anymore. Like, I used to get butterflies and nerves and stuff for these tournaments. I don't get that anymore. Not after 50 events.
Wait till you're 65.
Yeah.
If you can get to the tournament, you feel pretty good about it. So you're not worried about butterflies or anything else.
Right. Chris Hempstead Fishing said, Uncle Terry is my hero. Top-notch guy. Uncle Terry is the man. That is for sure. And like Terry was saying, we did a seminar, I guess it was 3 years ago now?
Peoria, yep.
Is it 19, I think?
Yep. Peoria.
2019. Yeah, we did a show up at Peoria, Illinois. Me, Terry, and Mr. James Worldwide Watson. And the coolest thing about it was James also decided to make the seminar a yard sale.
He did.
He brought tons of totes just full of baits. And actually, one of them's right here. I have a double whopper plopper this came from Marcus Sikora out of his boat. He said, "Here, you can have this." I said, "Well, I don't know what I'm going to do with it, but maybe my kid will like it." And then I got this from James. I think this is a Jinko uh, little swim bait here, and I mean, will I ever throw it? Probably not. But and I did get a black rat. It's like a homemade fishing lure with like googly eyes on it. It's upstairs somewhere, but
All he did at that, only thing he gave me there was crap.
he
And that
didn't
was
get
the
he
thing
didn't
I
give
got.
you any of that good stuff, man.
Nope, I didn't want any of it because I never know. It probably had a whammy on it, and my boat would have sunk or something. So I didn't get anything from him. But he did have some totes full of stuff, no question.
I did. Oh, I did get his autograph that day.
You got a hat too,
Yeah, I still got the hat.
worldwide
Yep.
hat. Yeah.
Yeah, but you figure, that James would have gave that to me out of kindness. I had to
You have to
buy
pay
that
for
hat.
it.
I
You
bought
did?
it. Yep.
I'll have to call him.
Oh, I know.
Tell him
But
you need a refund.
it,
Factory defect on that hat.
it hasn't brought me no luck, I don't think. I mean, then again, I haven't
Hasn't
worn
brought him any either.
Well, I got his autograph. He gave me a baseball card.
He's just a salty earth good guy. I mean, if you want to pull for somebody, James Watts is the guy to pull for. He really is.
Yeah, and not to mention he's a riot.
Yeah.
I mean, me, I'm not right myself. I'm a little off kilter. I think I'm not that serious of a person, and I'd rather act stupid and have fun than be boring and stuff. But as soon as
I made that a career.
Yeah. That's probably why
Dustin
me
Taylor
and you get along.
too. Dustin Taylor was there too. He was another speaker there.
Oh yeah, Dustin. Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, I seen it. Actually wasn't like the date wise was actually not too long because I think I seen the flyer or something not too long ago on my Facebook memories that we were sharing around the internet.
Right.
But yeah, so I'm excited for next year. What a year, winning co-angler of the year and all that it was pretty cool. So I'm proud of that one,
It's funny because everybody went to this, by yourself in the boat thing. That's kind of one of those things that, there are not very many of them. That they'll have it again this year, I'm sure, but you may end up having it where it's not any co-anglers in the future. You never know.
Well, that was one thing when FLW, whenever first they took the co-anglers out of the Forest Wood Cup. First they dropped it from co-anglers fishing all 4 days to the fishing the first two. Then the FLW tour took them out of the Forest Wood Cup. And so I told everybody then, I was like, co-anglers are going to be done. This will be the last year. And this was in 2019 or 2018, one or the other. And so I ended up getting into an FLW tour event just to say I fished one. It was actually the tournament that Randy Haynes quit.
Mm-hmm.
I drew him the day before he quit. And he was leading the tournament on Kentucky Lake. Jason Lambert, who I fished with the year prior, was in second. And Randy was running around that tournament. And for somebody who was leading a major event like that, I'd never seen anybody so negative with leading a tournament in my life. And he's like, I just hate people fishing on top of each other. He was just spun out, and the mindset was not there. And so that was day 2 that I fished with them, the last day co-anglers fish. And then I come back to Illinois. I'm sitting in a kayak on a private lake up here. And next thing you know, my phone starts blowing up talking about Randy Haynes just quit the tournament. What the hell? I'm like, what? What do you mean?
Randy's good people too, though.
He really is.
Mm-hmm.
Down to earth, normal dude. He's just that day I fished with him. He's letting his mind get to him.
Well, he is probably one of the best ledge fishermen on Kentucky Lake that there is.
Yeah.
And he, back
he's
when
a legend.
he had lots of, he is. They had lots of fish in it. If he was in it, you were fishing for second most generally.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know how much stories are true that he had a part in kind of Lambert, him cutting his teeth, learning and stuff a lot from Randy. But on Kentucky Lake, which it just breaks my heart about that lake with the carp. But I mean, I have fished behind Randy Haynes, Jason Lambert, Cole Floyd, Brandon Hunter, Dion Hibden, and then another guy you might have heard of him, Mark Rose.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah. So I fished behind all those guys on Kentucky. Let's just say I know how to catch them on that lake.
Well, Cole Floyd just made it to the BPT tour, didn't he?
Yeah, I believe so. Cole is an absolute hammer. I do have a funny story when I fished with him though. Toyota Series tournament, and we pull up on a spot. It's pre-spawn, so they're not out on the ledges really. Very sporadic. The fish are moving, and so it wasn't a ledge fishing deal that tournament. I think it was in March, like mid-March or something. So Cole goes out there and he's got a real rattle trap, and he throws out in the spot, and something just clobbers it. And he's like, man, something just crushed it. I was like, what was that, a smallmouth? He goes, I think it was. So he cast back in there, nothing. I was like, throw a Ned rig down in there. Me being a co-owner, I'm like, throw a Ned rig down there. He's like, I ain't got none of them. I said, here. Flip him up one. He puts the dang thing on. He throws that Ned rig out there, lets it sink down. Dunk first cast, gets it up, 3-pound smallmouth. So there you go. You're welcome.
Ned rig will make bad fishermen good. It's sort of like a Senko, and I applaud that stuff. I can't stand it. I mean, if I know you got to win a tournament on a Ned rig, I'm going to the next tournament. I'm just not good with it at all.
It's really fishing table rock's kind of what taught me. Basically, I heard an old timer say a couple years back, the guy was a guide, and he said, yeah, when I take people out guide trips on this lake, whenever I have them standing in the back of that boat with a Ned rig, and I told them if they touch their reel, I'm taking them to the bank. So really? He's like, yeah. He goes, you just let it soak. Just let it soak. It'll move with the boat. Don't reel it up. Eventually, you're gonna get a bite. They're like, yeah, I guess so. If they're not up on the bank, I guess. But
Ned Cady was the guy that kind of came up with that, and he documents everything. He's written for us a little bit.
Yeah,
he's a wonderful, wonderful man. He's just a great guy.
And it was from the beetle spin, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just the little beetle spin.
Single bit the end of it off and had a lead head, and that's where it came from. And then of course Z-Man came out with the regular lead head that was for the Ned rig.
Right.
And after that, the rest is history. But Ned Cady was the guy that's where the Ned rig comes from.
Yeah, no, that little mushroom head, that's the only one I'll throw. The Ned rig. Anybody want to tip with a Ned rig? I usually throw a 10th ounce. I don't like going heavier. I think it kills the action of the bait. Yeah, it takes forever to sink if you're in deep water, but that's the point of it. And two, I will use the Z-Man one that has the brush guard on it if I'm around wood. But generally, I try to stay away from that too. If I'm around rock, stuff like that, then I won't use it. But if I'm around, suspended fish and timber and stuff, I'll use the one with the two little wires on it. So remarkably, it doesn't get hung up.
No, it's light enough probably helps that.
Mm-hmm. And I've thrown a ton of people, different people's Ned heads, and the Z-Man one's the best. It just is. Not just that, but that light wired hook. If you ever do get it snagged, you can pull it free. Bend that hook out.
Yep.
But just be careful with that, because then next time you catch a smallmouth, he's gonna bend it back out. Well, Miss Terry, I appreciate you, brother.
I'm glad to do it. Glad to do it, Rob. I appreciate you letting me be here with you.
Hey, my show's just a baby right now, but here in a couple of years, who knows? I may have quite a good following on YouTube and all that. I believe I'm actually getting ready to hit 5,000 here on Facebook, which is cool.
Good for you.
Maybe,
you work hard at it. You deserve it.
Yeah, I mean, shoot, I think I created this Facebook page in 2010 or something, or maybe it was 13, I think. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I mean, it's been a long road, a slow road to get some followers on here, but I keep trucking along, and there ain't no quitting me. So
nope, I know that of you.
Yeah.
Thanks again for letting me be here.
Hey, brother, I appreciate you. We'll have to do it again soon. I'm sure here in the next 6 months to a year, we'll have some more stuff to talk about here in this beautiful state.
Well, I hope we have a update that's favorable for tournament anglers soon. I'm not going to count on it, but I'm going to try.
Yep, and y'all be sure to go check out WIRED2FISH.com. If you have never checked it out, do so. Like I said, it's a treasure trove of information. Mr. Terry and Jason Sealock and Walker and all your guys the content you guys put on there is top notch. I haven't really got to meet personally any of your fellows with Wired2Fish, but it seems like I know them personally because I've watched their videos for 10
And
years.
they're all great guys. They
Yeah,
really,
yeah, and I'm sure they are just because I know how you are, and you wouldn't bring people on with you if they weren't good people. So
no, they're good.
you
They're
know,
good guys. They're a lot smarter than I am. That's for sure.
well, hey, maybe one day you guys will see me on that website. I think that'd be pretty cool.
We still got a fishing trip somewhere along the line, you and I.
We got to do that now. Now, are we going largemouth chasing or are we going smallmouth chasing? Will be the question.
Well, we'll just have to figure out where we're going to go, and then we'll chase whatever bites. How about that?
Hey, I'm game with that. We'll,
Thank you, my
we'll
friend.
hey, we'll figure out a week and we'll make it happen this year.
Sounds good. Appreciate
Uh,
you, Rob. Thank you.
All right, Terry. Hey, God bless, brother. Hope you and your family have a good Christmas, and thanks for being on, brother.
You bet.
All right, later.
Mm-hmm.
All right, y'all. That concludes the second episode of the Roughneck Fishing Show. We covered a lot of things. Mr. Terry, he's the man. And like I said, if you guys haven't checked out Wire2Fish, go do that. If you're following me on Facebook, be sure to go to my YouTube page. Just search Robcranefishing on YouTube. Shoot me a subscription and hit that little bell notification. It'll notify you every time I upload one of my videos or I go live. And yeah, I'm going to try to do a show every week. If not, it will be bi-weekly. Past couple weeks, I was sick and everything else. So glad I'm feeling better now. But y'all tune in. Thanks for tuning in. Rob Crane signing out from the armpit of America. Later.